Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. Feel the air fill your lungs. Feel your chest rise and fall. In this moment of quiet stillness, something extraordinary is happening inside you. Something so vast and beautiful that it rivals the Amazon rainforest in its complexity. You carry within your body a secret garden. Not the kind with roses and oak trees, but something far more remarkable. This garden lives in the gentle curves of your intestines. It flourishes in the warm spaces between your teeth. It blooms quietly on your skin and in every fold and crevice of your being. This garden is home to trillions of tiny living creatures. They are so small that millions could dance on the head of a pin. Yet together, they outnumber the stars you can see in the night sky. Scientists call these microscopic residents your microbiome. But tonight, we will think of them as the gardeners of your inner world. These gardeners are bacteria. Each one is a single cell, simple yet perfect. They have no eyes, yet they sense the world around them. They have no hands, yet they build and create and tend to your body with care. They have no voices, yet they communicate in a language older than words. Right now, as you rest here in the darkness, these tiny gardeners are working. They line the walls of your stomach like living wallpaper. They carpet your intestines in patterns more intricate than any Persian rug. They form communities and neighborhoods, each with its own purpose and personality. Some of these bacterial gardeners specialize in breaking down the food you ate today. They take the apple you enjoyed at lunch and transform it into nutrients your body can use. Others focus on protecting you, standing guard against harmful invaders like microscopic security officers. Still others tend to the delicate balance of your internal chemistry, adjusting and fine-tuning like master chemists. Your secret garden began forming before you took your first breath. As you grew in your mother's womb, you lived in a sterile world, clean and protected. But the moment you were born, the gardening began. With your first cry, your first taste of milk, your first touch of skin against skin, the gardeners arrived. They came from your mother. They came from the air around you. They came from every surface you touched and every person who held you. Each new gardener brought skills and knowledge, settling into the perfect spot in your internal landscape. As you grew from baby to child to the person you are today, your garden grew too. It changed with every meal, every season, every year of your life. When you ate fresh vegetables, certain gardeners flourished. When you took medicine, others adapted. When you felt stress or joy, the entire garden responded. Your garden is unique. No one else in the world has exactly the same collection of microbial gardeners that you do. Not your parents, not your siblings, not your closest friends. Your internal ecosystem is as individual as your fingerprint, as personal as your dreams. These gardeners work in harmony with your body in ways that would amaze you. They help digest your food, yes, but they do so much more. They produce vitamins that keep you healthy. They train your immune system to recognize friend from foe. They even communicate with your brain, sending chemical messages that can influence your mood and thoughts. When you eat a piece of chocolate and feel happy, your gardeners are part of that joy. When you feel calm after drinking chamomile tea, they help create that peace. When you recover from a cold, they have been working tirelessly to help heal you. Your gardeners are ancient. The partnership between humans and bacteria began billions of years ago. Long before there were flowers or trees, before there were birds or butterflies, bacteria were here. They learned to live alongside other forms of life, creating partnerships that would last through countless generations. The bacteria in your gut today carry the wisdom of this ancient alliance. They remember how to work with human cells. They know which chemicals to produce and when. They understand the rhythm of your daily life, becoming more active when you eat and resting when you sleep. This partnership runs so deep that scientists sometimes wonder where you end and your gardeners begin. Are you simply you, or are you a walking ecosystem? Are you one organism, or are you a community of trillions working together? The answer, perhaps, is both. You are wonderfully, completely you. And you are also home to this magnificent garden of microscopic life. You are individual and collective, simple and complex, one and many all at once. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, your gardeners prepare too. They will continue their quiet work through the night. They will process the last meal you ate. They will repair small damages. They will communicate with each other in their silent chemical language. They will tend to the garden that is you. But here is the most remarkable thing about your secret garden. It is not fixed or unchanging. Unlike the garden outside your window, which grows slowly through seasons and years, your internal garden can transform quickly. The choices you make, the foods you eat, the way you live your life, all of these can shift the balance of your inner ecosystem. This means you are not just the home for your garden. You are also its caretaker. Every bite of food you take is like watering certain plants and allowing others to rest. Every choice you make sends ripples through your microbial world. And perhaps most wonderfully of all, your gardeners can influence more than just your digestion. They can actually communicate with your genes, those tiny instruction manuals inside every cell of your body. Through their chemical messages, they can tell your genes which instructions to follow and which to ignore. This quiet conversation between your bacteria and your genes is happening right now, as you rest in the gentle darkness, preparing for the deeper mysteries that await in your dreams. Picture the moment before you were born. You floated peacefully in warm, protective waters. Your world was quiet and sterile, free from the billions of bacteria that would soon become your lifelong companions. You were alone in the truest sense, carrying only the cells that were purely you. But this solitude would last only moments. As you prepared to enter the world, ancient preparations were already underway. Your mother's body was readying gifts for you. Gifts so small they were invisible, yet so important they would shape the rest of your life. These gifts were living bacteria, passed down through countless generations like precious family heirlooms. The bacteria living in your mother's body had been waiting for this moment. Some had traveled through her bloodstream to gather near the birth canal. Others had been living peacefully in her gut, creating beneficial chemicals that would soon nourish you through her milk. Each bacterial species carried its own special talents, its own ancient wisdom about how to care for a human being. When you took your first breath, everything changed. The sterile world you had known vanished in an instant. With that first gulp of air, the first microscopic pioneers entered your lungs. They were gentle explorers, floating in on invisible currents, seeking new homes in your pristine internal landscape. Your first cry brought more visitors. As you opened your mouth to announce your arrival to the world, bacteria from the air around you drifted onto your tongue. They settled on your gums and the roof of your mouth like microscopic snow, each one carrying the potential to become part of your personal ecosystem. But the most important moment came with your first meal. Whether you drank your mother's milk or formula from a bottle, this first feeding was like planting the first seeds in an empty garden. The warm liquid carried not just nutrition, but living passengers. Beneficial bacteria that had been waiting patiently in your mother's milk began their gentle colonization of your digestive system. These first bacterial inhabitants were specially chosen by nature. They were the perfect pioneers, equipped to thrive in the unique environment of a newborn's body. Like the first settlers in a new land, they had to be hardy and adaptable. They needed to establish safe communities quickly, before less friendly bacteria could take hold. As these microscopic pioneers traveled through your tiny digestive system, they began their work immediately. They lined the walls of your stomach and intestines like living wallpaper. They created chemical signals that told your immune system, "We are friends. We belong here." They started producing vitamins and other nutrients that your growing body needed. Some of these early bacteria came with extraordinary gifts. They carried the ability to digest milk sugars that your own body couldn't break down. Others brought recipes for creating vitamins that would help your brain develop properly. Still others specialized in training your immune system, teaching it the difference between helpful visitors and dangerous invaders. In your first few days of life, bacterial neighborhoods began forming inside you. Different species found their preferred locations. Some preferred the acidic environment of your stomach. Others thrived in the more neutral territory of your small intestine. Each group established its own community, complete with chemical communication networks and cooperative partnerships. Your skin, too, became home to its own collection of bacterial residents. Every time someone held you, every surface you touched, every breath of air that moved across your face brought new microscopic immigrants. They settled into the tiny valleys between skin cells, creating protective colonies that would guard you against harmful germs. What makes this colonization so remarkable is how perfectly orchestrated it was. Your body didn't fight these bacterial visitors. Instead, it welcomed them. Your immune system, still learning to recognize friend from foe, received chemical signals from the beneficial bacteria that essentially said, "We are here to help." This early partnership between you and your bacterial inhabitants was like a dance choreographed over millions of years of evolution. Your body provided warm shelter and steady meals. In return, the bacteria offered protection, nutrition, and chemical services that your human cells couldn't provide on their own. As days turned into weeks, your bacterial garden grew more complex. The pioneer species that had arrived first began shaping the environment for other beneficial bacteria. They created chemical conditions that would attract helpful newcomers while discouraging harmful ones. They were like gardeners preparing soil for the plants that would come later. Each feeding brought new additions to your microbial community. Your mother's milk contained not just bacteria, but also special sugars that could only be digested by beneficial microbes. These sugars were like fertilizer, designed specifically to help your good bacteria flourish while starving out potential troublemakers. The bacteria in your growing garden began communicating with each other through chemical messages. They shared resources and coordinated their activities like members of a well-organized team. When one species detected a threat, it would send warning signals to the others. When food was abundant, they would share the wealth. But perhaps most remarkably, these early bacterial residents began communicating with your human cells too. They sent gentle chemical messages that influenced how your genes behaved. Some of these signals told your digestive system how to develop properly. Others guided the formation of your immune system, teaching it sophisticated lessons about recognizing and responding to different types of threats. Your first bacterial inhabitants also began creating a chemical signature that was uniquely yours. The combination of species that colonized your body, and the specific balance between them, started forming a microbial fingerprint as individual as your DNA. This signature would continue evolving throughout your life, but its foundation was being laid in these earliest days. As you grew from newborn to infant, your bacterial garden continued maturing. New species arrived with every new food you tried, every new environment you explored, every new person you met. But the foundation laid by those first microscopic pioneers remained strong, providing stability and continuity to your evolving inner ecosystem. These early inhabitants were more than just the first bacteria to call your body home. They were the architects of your internal landscape, the teachers of your immune system, the chemists who would spend their lives creating beneficial compounds for your health and well-being. And as you rest now in the gentle darkness, those same bacterial lineages continue their ancient work, their chemical messages still flowing through your body like whispered conversations in a language older than words. Imagine you could shrink down to the size of a molecule and float gently through your bloodstream. You would witness one of nature's most beautiful conversations, a chemical symphony that plays constantly within you. This is the secret language of your body, spoken not in words but in tiny molecular messengers. Your bacterial gardeners are master communicators. Though they have no voices, they speak fluently in the ancient language of chemistry. Every moment of every day, they craft delicate molecules and release them into your body like messages in bottles cast into a vast inner ocean. These molecular messages are incredibly small. Millions could dance on the head of a pin without bumping into each other. Yet each one carries important information, traveling through your body with purpose and precision. They are the letters in an ongoing conversation between your bacteria and every cell in your body. Some of these molecular messengers are simple, made of just a few atoms linked together like tiny chains. Others are more complex, resembling microscopic sculptures with intricate shapes and curves. Each shape carries a different meaning, like words in a chemical vocabulary that your body has learned to understand over millions of years. Right now, as you rest quietly, your gut bacteria are busy composing their molecular letters. Some are writing messages about the food you ate today. They break down the fiber from that apple you enjoyed, transforming it into smaller molecules that carry news of nourishment to cells throughout your body. Other bacteria are crafting molecules that tell your immune system stories about the microscopic world inside you. They create chemical signals that essentially say, all is well in the garden. The beneficial bacteria are thriving, and the harmful ones are being kept in check. These messages help your immune system stay calm and focused, like a security guard receiving regular updates that everything is peaceful. The most remarkable thing about these molecular messengers is how far they can travel. Some remain local, communicating only with nearby cells in your intestines. But others embark on extraordinary journeys, flowing through your bloodstream like tiny explorers seeking distant shores. These traveling molecules can reach your liver, where they influence how your body processes nutrients and filters toxins. They can journey to your heart, affecting the rhythm of your pulse and the health of your blood vessels. Some even cross the mysterious barrier that protects your brain, carrying bacterial wisdom to the very center of your thoughts and emotions. When these molecular messengers reach your brain, something magical happens. They don't control your thoughts or change who you are. Instead, they gently influence the chemical atmosphere of your mind, like a subtle perfume that can shift your mood without you even noticing. Your gut bacteria produce molecules that are nearly identical to some of your brain's own chemical messengers. They create substances that resemble serotonin, the molecule associated with feelings of happiness and contentment. They make compounds similar to dopamine, which is linked to motivation and reward. In this way, your bacterial garden participates in the complex chemistry of your emotions. The conversation between your bacteria and your body is not one-sided. Your human cells also speak in molecular messages, sending chemical signals back to your microbial inhabitants. When you feel stressed, your body releases molecules that your bacteria can detect and respond to. When you eat certain foods, your cells send chemical news about the incoming nutrients. This two-way communication creates a feedback loop, a continuous conversation that helps maintain the delicate balance of your internal ecosystem. Your bacteria learn about your needs and respond accordingly. Your body learns about the state of your microbial garden and adjusts its own chemistry to support the partnership. Some molecular messengers carry news about time itself. Your bacteria help maintain your body's internal clock, the circadian rhythm that tells you when to wake and when to sleep. They produce molecules that signal the time of day to cells throughout your body, helping synchronize the complex biological processes that keep you healthy. As evening approaches and your body prepares for rest, your bacterial messengers change their chemical tune. They begin producing molecules that promote relaxation and prepare your digestive system for the overnight fast ahead. These nighttime messengers help create the peaceful internal environment that supports deep, restorative sleep. The molecular messages from your bacteria can even influence your appetite and food preferences. When certain bacteria in your gut are thriving, they produce molecules that make you crave the foods they prefer. When others are struggling, they send chemical signals that might make you desire different nutrients. In this way, your microbial garden gently guides your food choices, encouraging you to eat in ways that support the health of the entire ecosystem. These chemical conversations happen constantly, creating a rich network of communication that connects every part of your body. Your bacteria don't just live inside you, they participate actively in your biology, contributing their ancient wisdom to the complex orchestra of your physiology. The molecules they produce can influence inflammation, helping your body heal from injuries and fight off infections. They can affect your metabolism, changing how efficiently your body burns energy and stores nutrients. They can even influence your genes, sending chemical signals that tell certain genes when to activate and when to rest. This molecular communication system is so sophisticated that scientists are only beginning to understand its full complexity. Every year, researchers discover new types of bacterial messengers and new ways they influence human health. It's as if we're slowly learning to translate an ancient language that has been spoken inside us all our lives. The beauty of this system lies in its gentleness. These molecular conversations don't force or control, they influence and guide. Like a gentle hand on your shoulder or a whispered suggestion in your ear, the chemical messages from your bacteria offer guidance while respecting your body's own wisdom and autonomy. As you lie here in the quiet darkness, millions of these tiny messengers are traveling through your bloodstream like stars moving across the night sky. They carry stories of your day, news of your health, and gentle suggestions for tomorrow. They are the invisible threads that weave your bacterial garden into the larger tapestry of your being. And among all these molecular messengers flowing through your body tonight, some carry a very special type of news, letters addressed to the master controllers of your cells, the guardians of your genetic code who decide which instructions your genes will follow and which they will quietly ignore. Deep within every cell of your body lies a library more vast than any collection of books ever assembled. This is your genetic library, your DNA, containing millions of instructions written in a code older than civilization itself. But tonight, we discover something remarkable about this ancient library. It is not a static collection gathering dust on forgotten shelves. Instead, it is alive with quiet activity, constantly listening to the chemical whispers of your bacterial companions. Your DNA resembles a twisted ladder, elegant and perfect in its spiral design. Along the rungs of this molecular ladder are written the instructions that make you uniquely you. The color of your eyes, the texture of your hair, the way your body processes different foods, all of these traits are encoded in your genetic script. But here is what makes your genetic library truly extraordinary. Not all of these instructions are being followed at any given moment. Many of your genes rest quietly, like books on a shelf waiting to be opened. Others are actively at work, their instructions being read and carried out by the cellular machinery around them. What determines which genetic books are opened and which remain closed? This is where the gentle influence of your bacterial gardeners becomes profound and beautiful. The molecular messages they send don't just travel to your brain or your immune system. Some of these chemical whispers find their way to the very heart of your cells, to the place where your genes wait patiently for signals about what to do next. Imagine your genes as a vast orchestra, with thousands of musicians holding their instruments in readiness. Your bacterial messengers act like conductors, sending chemical signals that tell certain sections when to play and when to remain silent. Some bacterial molecules encourage genes involved in digestion to become more active after a meal. Others signal genes that control inflammation to calm down when all is well in your internal garden. This process happens so gently that you never feel it occurring. Right now, as you rest in the peaceful darkness, molecular conversations are taking place between your bacteria and your genes. These conversations don't change who you are at your core. Your fundamental genetic identity remains the same. Instead, they influence how your genetic instructions are expressed, like choosing which songs your genetic orchestra will play. The relationship between your microbes and your genes is like an ancient dance, choreographed over millions of years of evolution. Your bacterial partners have learned to speak the chemical language that your genes understand. They produce molecules that can bind to special switches along your DNA, switches that control whether specific genes are turned on or off. When your gut bacteria encounter fiber from the vegetables you ate today, they don't just digest it for your benefit. They also produce chemical signals that travel to genes involved in metabolism and immune function. These signals might encourage genes that help process nutrients to become more active, or tell genes that control inflammation to maintain their peaceful state. Some bacterial messages promote the activation of genes that strengthen your gut lining, making it more resistant to harmful invaders. Others might influence genes that control the production of beneficial proteins or enzymes. In this way, your microbial garden doesn't just live within you, it actively participates in maintaining your health at the most fundamental level. The timing of these genetic conversations is exquisitely coordinated. Your bacteria produce different molecular messages at different times of day, in response to your meals, your sleep patterns, and your daily rhythms. This means that your gene expression patterns change subtly throughout the day, guided in part by the chemical wisdom of your microbial companions. During the quiet hours when you sleep, your bacteria send different signals than they do during your active waking hours. Some genes that are involved in repair and renewal become more active at night, encouraged by bacterial messengers that promote healing and restoration. Others that are involved in energy production and metabolism may become less active, allowing your body to focus on rest and recovery. This bacterial influence on your genes helps explain why people can have such different responses to the same foods or lifestyle choices. The unique collection of bacteria in your gut produces a unique pattern of molecular messages. These messages influence your genes in ways that are as individual as your microbial fingerprint. Two people might eat identical meals, but their different bacterial populations will produce different chemical signals. These signals will influence their genes differently, leading to different metabolic responses, different levels of inflammation, and different overall health outcomes. In this way, your microbiome acts as a personalized interpreter, translating the foods you eat into genetic instructions that are tailored specifically to your body. The conversation between your bacteria and your genes is particularly active in the cells that line your digestive system. These cells are in constant contact with your microbial garden, receiving a steady stream of bacterial messages. The genes in these cells respond by producing different proteins and enzymes, adjusting the cellular environment to support the health of the entire ecosystem. But the influence extends far beyond your digestive system. Bacterial molecules can travel through your bloodstream to reach cells throughout your body. They can influence genes in your liver, affecting how your body processes fats and sugars. They can reach genes in your immune cells, helping to calibrate your body's defensive responses. Some can even influence genes in your brain, contributing to the complex chemistry of mood and cognition. What makes this system so remarkable is its sensitivity and precision. Your genes don't respond to every random chemical signal. Instead, they have evolved to recognize and respond to specific molecular messages from beneficial bacteria. It's as if your genes have learned to distinguish between the familiar voices of trusted friends and the unknown calls of strangers. This genetic listening system also provides a form of biological memory. When your bacteria repeatedly send the same types of molecular messages, your genes can develop lasting patterns of response. This might help explain why dietary changes sometimes take time to show their full effects. Your genes need time to adjust their expression patterns in response to the new chemical conversations initiated by changes in your microbial garden. The beauty of this system lies in its collaborative nature. Your bacteria don't control your genes, and your genes don't control your bacteria. Instead, they engage in an ongoing conversation, each partner contributing its own wisdom to the complex symphony of your biology. Your genes provide the fundamental instructions for life, while your bacteria offer environmental intelligence about the world you're living in. This partnership between your microbes and your genes represents one of the most elegant examples of cooperation in nature. It shows how different forms of life can work together, each contributing its unique capabilities to create something more beautiful and functional than either could achieve alone. As you drift toward sleep tonight, this gentle conversation continues in the quiet depths of your cells. Bacterial messengers carry news of your day to your genes, while your genetic responses create the molecular foundation for tomorrow's health and vitality. And tomorrow, when you choose what to eat for breakfast, you will be participating in this ancient conversation, sending new ingredients into your microbial garden that will bloom into fresh molecular messages for your ever-listening genes. Think about the last meal you enjoyed today. Perhaps it was a crisp apple, its sweetness lingering on your tongue. Or maybe warm soup that comforted you as evening settled in. As you savored those flavors, something extraordinary was happening that went far beyond simple nourishment. Each bite was carrying information, delivering messages to the trillions of bacterial residents in your inner garden. Food is not just fuel for your body. It is a complex language, written in molecules and nutrients that your microbial gardeners have learned to read with perfect fluency. Every apple contains not just sugars and vitamins, but chemical instructions that tell your bacteria which pathways to activate and which genetic switches to flip in response. When you bite into that apple, you release thousands of different molecules. Some are simple sugars that provide immediate energy. Others are complex fibers that weave through your digestive system like delicate threads. But hidden within this nutritional tapestry are chemical messages that your bacteria interpret as clearly as you might read words on a page. The fiber in the apple carries perhaps the most important message of all. Your human digestive system cannot break down most plant fibers. They pass through your stomach and small intestine largely unchanged, like sealed letters traveling to their intended recipients. When these fiber molecules reach your colon, your bacterial gardeners receive their mail. Different bacteria specialize in reading different types of fiber messages. Some prefer the gentle notes written in soluble fiber from oats and beans. Others excel at decoding the complex instructions hidden in the tough cellulose fibers of vegetables. Each bacterial species has evolved to understand specific nutritional languages, like scholars who have mastered different ancient texts. As your bacteria read these fiber messages, they begin their response immediately. They produce enzymes that break down the complex fibers into smaller molecules. This process creates new chemical compounds that weren't present in your original meal. These bacterial products become secondary messages, carrying news throughout your body about the feast that has arrived in your internal garden. Some of these bacterial responses are like thank you notes sent to your genes. When beneficial bacteria feast on the fiber from your morning oatmeal, they produce molecules called short-chain fatty acids. These molecules travel through your bloodstream, carrying messages of gratitude and abundance to genes throughout your body. They might encourage genes involved in maintaining your gut lining to become more active, or signal genes that control inflammation to remain calm and peaceful. The timing of these food messages matters deeply. Your bacterial garden operates on its own daily rhythm, synchronized with your eating patterns and sleep cycles. The bacteria that thrive on breakfast foods are most active in the morning, ready to receive and process the nutritional information from your first meal of the day. Evening bacteria prepare for different types of messages, adapted to process the foods you typically eat as daylight fades. When you eat foods rich in colorful plant compounds, you're sending particularly vibrant messages to your microbial community. The deep purple molecules in blueberries carry different information than the bright orange compounds in carrots. Each color represents a different chemical vocabulary, a unique set of instructions that your bacteria interpret and respond to in their own specialized ways. Your bacterial gardeners don't just read these food messages, they also edit and amplify them. A single molecule from a piece of broccoli might be transformed by your bacteria into dozens of different chemical signals. Some of these signals remain local, influencing only the immediate neighborhood of gut bacteria. Others embark on longer journeys, traveling to your liver, your immune system, or even your brain. This transformation of food into information creates a personalized response system that is as unique as your fingerprint. The specific collection of bacteria in your gut determines how your body interprets and responds to every meal. Two people might eat identical salads, but their different bacterial populations will read different messages in the same ingredients, creating different chemical responses and different effects on their genes. The bacteria in your garden also remember the messages they receive. If you regularly eat foods rich in certain fibers, your bacterial community gradually shifts to better process those nutrients. New species that specialize in reading your preferred food languages begin to flourish, while others that are less relevant to your diet quietly fade into the background. This bacterial memory means that changing your diet is like teaching your microbial garden a new language. At first, your bacteria might struggle to efficiently process unfamiliar food messages. But over time, your internal ecosystem adapts, developing new capabilities and sensitivities that allow it to extract maximum information and benefit from your dietary choices. Some foods carry messages that promote harmony and balance in your bacterial garden. Fermented foods like yogurt and sauerkraut don't just bring their own beneficial bacteria, they also carry chemical signals that encourage cooperation and communication among your existing microbial residents. These foods are like peace treaties, promoting diplomatic relations between different bacterial communities. Other foods send more challenging messages. Highly processed foods often lack the complex fiber languages that your bacteria have evolved to understand. When these foods arrive in your gut, it's like receiving a letter written in a foreign script. Your bacteria can extract some basic nutrition, but they miss the deeper chemical conversations that whole foods provide. The artificial sweeteners and preservatives in some processed foods can send confusing signals to your bacterial community. These synthetic molecules don't match any of the natural food languages your bacteria have learned to read over millions of years of evolution. Some bacteria interpret these unfamiliar signals as threats, triggering stress responses that can ripple through your entire microbial ecosystem. But your bacterial garden is remarkably forgiving and adaptable. Even if you've been sending mixed messages through your food choices, your microbial community stands ready to welcome clearer, more supportive nutritional information. Every meal is a new opportunity to strengthen the communication pathways between your food, your bacteria, and your genes. As you prepare for sleep tonight, your bacterial gardeners are still processing the information from your evening meal. They're reading the molecular messages you sent them, crafting their chemical responses, and preparing to share their interpretations with your genes through the quiet hours of the night. And tomorrow morning, when you choose your first meal of the day, you'll once again have the opportunity to write new letters to your microbial garden, sending fresh information that will influence not just your nutrition, but the very expression of your genetic potential. But sometimes, the messages your bacteria send in response to these food signals can create storms as well as calm, triggering ancient defense systems that were designed to protect but can also disrupt the peaceful harmony of your inner garden. Picture a gentle rainstorm moving across a summer meadow. At first glance, the storm might seem disruptive, bending flowers and stirring up the peaceful landscape. But look more closely, and you'll see the deeper wisdom at work. The rain brings nourishment to thirsty roots. The wind carries seeds to new places where they can grow. What appears to be chaos is actually nature's way of caring for the garden. This is how inflammation works in your body. It is your internal storm system, a protective response that has been refined over millions of years of evolution. When your bacterial gardeners detect something that doesn't belong, when your tissue sense injury or stress, inflammation rises like a caring tempest, bringing healing resources exactly where they're needed. Your immune system speaks the language of inflammation with remarkable precision. It's not a blunt instrument that attacks everything in sight. Instead, it's more like a sophisticated weather system, capable of producing gentle morning mists for minor concerns and powerful thunderstorms for serious threats. Right now, even as you rest in peaceful stillness, tiny inflammatory processes are occurring throughout your body. Some are so gentle you'll never notice them. A few immune cells patrol your bloodstream like quiet sentries. Others stand guard in your tissues, watching for signs of damage or invasion. This background level of immune activity is like the constant breeze that keeps your internal atmosphere fresh and clean. When your bacterial gardeners encounter something concerning, they begin composing chemical messages that call for help. These molecular signals drift through your tissues like the first whispers of wind before a storm. They tell your immune cells where to go and what kind of help is needed. Some bacterial messengers produce signals that summon gentle healing responses. When beneficial bacteria detect that you've eaten foods rich in anti-inflammatory compounds, they create molecules that encourage your genes to maintain peaceful, balanced immune activity. These bacterial peacekeepers work constantly to keep your internal climate mild and supportive. But sometimes stronger measures are needed. When harmful bacteria try to establish themselves in your gut, or when your tissues are injured, your microbial garden sends urgent chemical messages that trigger more intense inflammatory responses. Blood vessels widen to allow immune cells to reach the troubled area more quickly. Specialized healing compounds flood the region like emergency supplies rushing to help a storm-damaged community. This inflammatory storm brings exactly what's needed for healing. Immune cells arrive like skilled repair crews, each with its own specialty. Some focus on clearing away damaged tissue. Others hunt down harmful invaders. Still others begin the delicate work of rebuilding and renewal. The whole process is orchestrated by chemical signals from your bacteria and your genes, working together in an ancient dance of protection and repair. Your genes play a crucial role in this inflammatory symphony. Some genes encode proteins that fuel the storm, creating the molecular tools needed for a strong immune response. Others produce proteins that calm the tempest once the danger has passed. Your bacterial gardeners influence which of these genes are active at any given moment, helping to fine-tune your body's inflammatory responses. When your microbiome is healthy and balanced, it produces signals that keep inflammation at just the right level. Like a skilled conductor leading an orchestra, your bacterial community knows when to encourage your immune genes to play more loudly and when to signal for a softer, more gentle response. But sometimes this delicate balance can be disrupted. If your bacterial garden becomes dominated by species that produce pro-inflammatory signals, your immune system might begin responding to threats that aren't really there. It's like having a weather system that keeps producing storms even when the skies should be clear. Chronic inflammation can occur when this balance is lost. Your immune system, trying to be helpful, continues its protective responses long after the original threat has passed. It's like a thunderstorm that doesn't know when to end, continuing to rain long after the garden has received all the water it needs. Your dietary choices send important messages to this inflammatory system. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, like those found in fish and walnuts, carry chemical instructions that encourage your bacteria to produce calming signals. Colorful fruits and vegetables provide compounds that your microbial gardeners can transform into natural anti-inflammatory messengers. On the other hand, foods high in refined sugars and unhealthy fats can trigger your bacteria to send signals that stir up unnecessary inflammatory storms. It's not that these foods are inherently evil, but rather that they speak a chemical language that your ancient immune system interprets as a sign of potential trouble. The beautiful thing about this system is its responsiveness. Your bacterial community can shift its chemical messaging relatively quickly when you change your dietary patterns. New foods bring new molecular instructions that your microbes can use to retune your inflammatory responses. It's like updating the software that runs your internal weather system. Sleep plays a vital role in this inflammatory balance too. During the quiet hours of rest, your body shifts into repair mode. Your bacterial gardeners produce different chemical signals at night, encouraging your genes to focus on healing and renewal rather than active defense. This is why good sleep is so important for managing inflammation and maintaining health. Stress can also influence your inflammatory weather patterns. When you feel anxious or overwhelmed, your body produces hormones that your bacteria can detect. Some microbial species interpret these stress signals as warnings of potential danger, prompting them to send chemical messages that prepare your immune system for trouble. But here's the remarkable thing about your inflammatory system. Even when storms do arise, they carry within them the seeds of their own resolution. The same immune responses that create inflammation also trigger the production of specialized molecules that help calm the storm once its work is done. Your body has built-in mechanisms for returning to peace. As you lie here in the gentle darkness, your inflammatory system is maintaining its quiet vigilance. Your bacterial gardeners are monitoring your internal landscape, sending soft chemical signals that keep your immune responses perfectly balanced. The molecular conversations between your microbes and your genes continue their ancient dialogue of protection and care. And in the morning, the choices you make about what to eat and how to live will add new verses to this ongoing song, influencing whether your internal weather remains calm and nurturing, or whether healing storms might need to gather in your body's continuing story of care and renewal. But beyond these daily fluctuations, your bacterial garden holds an even deeper kind of memory. One that connects your body's responses not just to yesterday's meal, but to patterns that stretch back through seasons and years of living. Close your eyes and think of your earliest memory. Perhaps it's the taste of your grandmother's soup or the feeling of warm sand between your toes on a summer day. These memories live in your brain, stored in networks of neurons that fire in familiar patterns when you recall the past. But tonight, we discover that you have another kind of memory, one that exists not in your mind but in the gentle curves of your intestines. Your gut remembers everything. Not in the way your brain remembers, with vivid images and emotions, but in a deeper, more biological way. Every meal you've ever eaten, every season you've lived through, every period of stress or joy you've experienced has left its mark on the microbial community that calls your intestines home. This memory is written not in neurons but in bacteria. Each species in your gut carries information about your past in its very presence. The abundance of certain bacteria tells the story of your dietary habits. The rarity of others speaks of medications you've taken or illnesses you've overcome. Your microbial garden is a living autobiography, written in the language of bacterial populations. Think about the foods you ate as a child. If you grew up eating lots of fruits and vegetables, certain fiber-loving bacteria establish strong communities in your gut. These bacterial populations persist even now, like old friends who've stayed in touch through the years. They remember the flavors of your childhood and stand ready to efficiently process similar foods whenever they appear in your diet again. The bacteria that specialize in processing dairy products tell their own story. If you drank milk regularly as a young person, these bacterial communities grew strong and numerous. Even if you drink less milk now, these bacterial memories remain, maintaining their ability to help you digest dairy should you choose to include it in your meals again. Your gut also remembers the seasons of your life through its bacterial residence. The microbes that thrive on summer fruits carry forward the memory of warm months and fresh produce. Others that prefer the heartier foods of winter maintain their own quiet populations, ready to flourish when cold weather returns and your body craves different kinds of nourishment. This bacterial memory system responds to patterns, not just individual meals. If you consistently eat certain foods for weeks or months, your microbial community gradually shifts to better support this dietary pattern. New bacterial species that specialize in processing your preferred foods begin to grow and multiply. Others that are less relevant to your current diet slowly decrease in number, though they rarely disappear completely. Your gut remembers stress in its own unique way. During challenging periods in your life, the chemical signals your body produces in response to stress influence your bacterial populations. Some species that thrive under stress may increase in number. Others that prefer calm, peaceful conditions may temporarily retreat to smaller populations, waiting patiently for more tranquil times to return. The medications you've taken over the years have also left their imprint on your microbial memory. Antibiotics, while sometimes necessary for fighting infections, can dramatically alter bacterial populations. Your gut remembers these interventions, and the communities that regrow afterward may be different from those that existed before. This bacterial memory of medical treatments can influence how your body responds to similar medications in the future. Even your sleep patterns are remembered by your microbial residents. The bacteria in your gut operate on their own daily rhythms, synchronized with your eating and sleeping cycles. If you regularly go to bed late or wake up early, certain bacterial populations adapt to these patterns. They adjust their activity cycles to match your lifestyle, creating a microbial memory of your daily routines. Your gut's memory extends beyond just what you eat to include how you eat. Rushed meals consumed under stress create different bacterial responses than the same foods eaten slowly and mindfully. Your microbial community remembers whether you typically eat in a calm, relaxed state or while feeling hurried and anxious. These patterns influence which bacteria thrive and which ones remain dormant. The remarkable thing about gut memory is its flexibility. Unlike the fixed nature of some biological systems, your microbial memory can be updated and revised. If you change your dietary habits, your bacterial populations will gradually shift to reflect these new patterns. Old bacterial memories don't vanish immediately, but they can be overlaid with new information as different microbial communities grow and flourish. This adaptive memory system helps explain why dietary changes sometimes take time to show their full effects. Your gut needs time to remember new patterns, to grow the bacterial populations that will efficiently process your new food choices. It's like retraining your microbial workforce to handle different types of tasks. Your bacterial memory also influences your cravings and food preferences. The microbes that have thrived in your gut for years produce chemical signals that can influence what foods you desire. Bacteria that specialize in processing chocolate might send molecular messages that make you crave sweet treats. Those that prefer vegetables might encourage you to seek out fresh, fibrous foods. This creates a fascinating feedback loop between your choices and your gut memory. The foods you eat regularly strengthen the bacterial populations that process those foods, which in turn may influence you to continue choosing similar foods. Your gut memory doesn't control your choices, but it does participate in the complex web of factors that influence your preferences. The memory in your gut also connects you to your family history in ways you might not expect. Some of the bacteria in your intestines carry genetic information that has been passed down through generations of bacterial reproduction. These microbial lineages have adapted over time to the dietary patterns common in your family or cultural background, creating a form of inherited gut memory. Seasonal changes also become part of your gut's memory system. If you live in a place with distinct seasons, your microbial community remembers the rhythm of changing food availability throughout the year. Bacteria that process summer fruits maintain their populations even through winter, ready to efficiently handle the return of warm weather foods when spring arrives. The memory in your gut is both personal and universal. While the specific details of your bacterial populations are unique to you, the underlying patterns are shared by all humans. We all carry microbial memories of stress and calm, feast and famine, health and illness. These bacterial recollections connect us to the broader human experience while maintaining our individual biological stories. Your gut memory is constantly being written and rewritten as you live your life. Each meal adds a new entry to this microbial journal. Every season, every change in routine, every period of health or illness contributes new chapters to the ongoing story that your bacterial residents carry within their communities. As you rest here in the quiet darkness, your gut memory continues its patient work of recording and storing the biological story of your day. The bacteria that processed your evening meal are already beginning to adjust their populations based on the nutritional information you provided, adding tonight's choices to the long memoir they maintain in your intestines. And this living memory that you carry within you extends beyond your own lifetime, reaching backward through generations and forward into the future, connecting your bacterial story to the vast, unbroken chain of microbial wisdom that flows through families and across time itself. Imagine holding a seashell to your ear and hearing the distant sound of ocean waves. The shell doesn't contain the sea, yet somehow it carries its echo across time and space. Your body holds similar mysteries. Within your microbial garden live bacterial descendants that carry echoes of your mother's body, whispers of your grandmother's kitchen, and ancient nutritional wisdom passed down through countless generations. The story of your microbiome begins before your birth, in the warm darkness of your mother's womb. As you grew inside her, the food she ate didn't just nourish your developing body directly. They also influenced the bacterial communities that would soon become your first microbial inheritance. Her dietary choices were quietly shaping the chemical environment that would welcome your earliest bacterial residents. When your mother ate fresh vegetables, certain beneficial bacteria in her gut flourished. These thriving bacterial populations produced molecules that traveled through her bloodstream, some eventually reaching you through the umbilical cord. In this way, the nutritional wisdom of her meals became part of your biological foundation before you took your first breath. The bacterial gifts you received at birth carried information much older than your mother's recent meals. Some of the microbial species that colonized your infant gut were descendants of bacteria that had lived in your mother's body for years, perhaps decades. These bacterial lineages had adapted to her unique dietary patterns, her cultural food traditions, and her family's genetic background. Your grandmother's influence flows through this invisible river of microbial inheritance. The food she ate while carrying your mother helped shape your parents' early microbiome. Some bacterial populations that began in your grandmother's kitchen found their way, generation by generation, into your own intestinal garden. In this way, her dietary wisdom echoes softly in your bacterial communities today. This generational transfer of microbial wisdom happens through multiple pathways. During birth, you received bacteria from your mother's birth canal and surrounding tissues. With your first taste of breast milk, you welcomed bacterial populations that had been specially prepared in your mother's mammary glands. Every early feeding brought new microbial immigrants that carried the biological memory of your maternal lineage. The bacteria you inherited weren't just random collections of microbes. They were specifically selected by evolution to work well with human biology, and many had been fine-tuned over generations to thrive in the dietary environment common to your family's cultural background. If your ancestors ate lots of fermented foods, you likely inherited bacteria that excel at processing these traditional preparations. If they consumed particular grains or vegetables, your microbial inheritance probably includes species specialized for those foods. This bacterial inheritance creates a form of nutritional memory that spans generations. Your body carries microbial echoes of ancestral feast and famine, abundance and scarcity. Some bacterial populations may have expanded during times when your ancestors had access to diverse, nutrient-rich foods. Others may have adapted to help process whatever limited foods were available during harder times. The remarkable thing about this generational echo is how it influences your genes. The bacteria you inherited from your mother don't just process your food, they also send chemical signals to your DNA. These molecular messages can influence which genes are active in your cells, potentially affecting everything from your metabolism to your immune responses to your risk for certain health conditions. Some of these bacterial influences on your genes may have been shaped by your mother's experiences during pregnancy. If she ate foods rich in anti-inflammatory compounds, the bacterial populations that thrived in her gut may have produced signals that encouraged certain protective genes to become more active in your developing body. These beneficial gene expression patterns, influenced by her dietary choices, became part of your biological inheritance. This means that your grandmother's garden, through its influence on your mother's microbiome and subsequently on your own, may still be affecting your gene expression today. The vegetables she grew and the meals she prepared created ripple effects that flow through bacterial inheritance across generations. Her nutritional wisdom becomes part of your cellular programming. But this generational echo isn't limited to the distant past. The dietary choices you make today are already beginning to influence the microbial legacy you might pass to future generations. Every meal you eat affects your bacterial populations, potentially shaping the microbial gifts you could offer to children or grandchildren yet to come. If you choose to have children, the bacteria flourishing in your body today could become part of their biological inheritance. The beneficial microbes you cultivate through your food choices may colonize their digestive systems, carrying forward your nutritional wisdom into the next generation. Your commitment to eating foods that support a healthy microbiome becomes an investment in the health of descendants you may never meet. This creates a beautiful responsibility and opportunity. You are not just caring for your own health when you choose nourishing foods. You are also tending to a microbial legacy that could influence generations. Every time you eat foods that support beneficial bacteria, you're strengthening the positive microbial inheritance you carry and might someday pass forward. The generational echo works both ways through time. Just as you carry bacterial wisdom from the past, your choices today send ripples into the future. The vegetables you eat, the fermented foods you enjoy, the diverse plant fibers you consume, all of these choices are shaping bacterial populations that could someday benefit your children and their children. This microbial inheritance isn't fixed or unchangeable. While you received certain bacterial populations from your mother, your own dietary choices over the years have modified and shaped these inherited communities. You've added new bacterial species through the foods you've eaten and the environments you've lived in. You've influenced which inherited bacteria thrive and which ones remain dormant. The bacterial populations in your gut today represent a unique blend of ancestral wisdom and personal choice. Some microbes carry forward the nutritional knowledge of your maternal lineage. Others reflect your own dietary journey and the foods you've chosen to embrace. This combination creates a microbial fingerprint that is both connected to your past and shaped by your present choices. Cultural food traditions play an important role in this generational bacterial inheritance. Families that have eaten similar traditional foods for many generations often share beneficial bacterial populations that are specially adapted to process those particular nutrients. These culturally adapted bacteria represent a form of biological wisdom, accumulated over centuries of dietary experience. The generational echo in your microbiome connects you to a vast network of human experience. Every person who shares similar ancestral backgrounds may carry related bacterial populations, creating invisible biological connections between families and communities. Your microbial inheritance links you not just to your direct ancestors, but to the broader human story of adaptation and survival. As you rest here in the gentle darkness, the bacterial communities in your gut continue their ancient work, carrying forward the nutritional wisdom of generations while responding to the dietary choices you make each day. They are living bridges between past and future, between ancestral knowledge and contemporary possibility. And tomorrow, as you choose what foods to welcome into your body, you'll be participating in this ongoing generational conversation, adding your own chapter to the microbial story while preparing the bacterial gifts that time and change will continue to shape and transform. Picture a garden in early spring. Snow has melted away, revealing soil that seems barren and lifeless. But beneath the surface, something magical is stirring. Seeds that have slept through the winter are beginning to wake. Roots that appear dead are gathering strength. Within days, tiny green shoots will push through the earth, transforming the landscape with new life and color. Your internal garden holds the same potential for transformation. Right now, as you rest in the quiet darkness, your microbial landscape contains countless possibilities waiting to unfold. Some bacterial communities that have remained small and quiet are ready to flourish if given the right conditions. Others that have dominated your gut for years could gracefully step back, making room for new microbial neighbors to establish themselves. This capacity for change is one of the most hopeful aspects of your microbiome. Unlike many biological systems that become fixed as you age, your bacterial garden retains a remarkable ability to adapt and transform throughout your entire life. A single meal can begin shifting bacterial populations. A week of new dietary choices can create measurable changes in your microbial community. A month of consistent, mindful eating can reshape your internal ecosystem in profound ways. The transformation begins the moment you introduce new foods to your bacterial residence. Imagine you decide to eat more vegetables than you have in years. As these plant fibers arrive in your gut, they carry chemical messages that dormant bacteria have been waiting decades to receive. Bacterial species that specialize in processing vegetable nutrients begin to stir from their quiet existence. These awakening bacteria don't suddenly appear from nowhere. They have been living in your gut all along, maintaining small populations even when your diet didn't favor their growth. Like seeds scattered throughout a garden, they remain viable and ready, waiting patiently for the nutritional conditions that will allow them to thrive once again. As these newly favored bacteria begin to multiply, they start producing different chemical messages than your gut has become accustomed to. They create molecules that encourage genes involved in nutrient absorption to become more active. They produce compounds that strengthen your intestinal lining and support healthy immune responses. They manufacture beneficial fatty acids that can influence everything from your mood to your metabolism. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it happens faster than you might expect. Within just a few days of changing your eating patterns, sensitive scientific instruments can detect shifts in your bacterial populations. Within a week, more substantial changes become apparent. Within a month, your microbial community can look significantly different from where it started. This speed of change reflects the rapid life cycle of bacteria. While you produce new cells over weeks and months, bacteria can reproduce every 20 minutes under ideal conditions. This means that bacterial populations can expand or contract much more quickly than human tissues can adapt. Your microbial garden operates on a different time scale than the rest of your body, allowing for remarkably fast responses to new conditions. The seasonal metaphor becomes even more meaningful when you consider how your dietary choices can mirror the natural rhythms of the earth. When you eat fresh spring greens, you are feeding bacterial populations that are specially adapted to process these early-season nutrients. Summer fruits awaken different microbial communities, ones that excel at handling the sugars and antioxidants abundant in warm-weather produce. Fall and winter foods call forth their own bacterial specialists. The heartier vegetables, nuts, and preserved foods of colder months provide nutrients that support different microbial populations. These bacteria have evolved to help humans extract maximum nutrition from the denser, more storage-focused foods that traditionally sustained people through leaner seasons. But your microbial seasons don't have to follow the calendar. You can create spring in your gut anytime by introducing fresh, diverse plant foods. You can encourage summer-like bacterial abundance by eating colorful fruits and vegetables. You can support the deeper, more sustained bacterial communities of autumn by including nuts, seeds, and fermented foods in your meals. Each dietary season brings its own gifts. Spring foods tend to support bacteria that produce cleansing and energizing compounds. Summer foods often encourage microbes that create mood-supporting chemicals and natural anti-inflammatory molecules. Fall and winter foods typically favor bacteria that produce vitamins and other nutrients essential for maintaining health during times of greater challenge. The transformation isn't limited to adding new foods. Sometimes the most profound changes come from what you choose to remove from your diet. When you reduce foods that support less beneficial bacterial populations, you create space for healthier microbes to expand their territory. It's like clearing weeds from a garden to give desirable plants more room to grow. Processed foods, excess sugar, and artificial additives often support bacterial communities that produce inflammatory compounds and compete with beneficial microbes for resources. When you gradually reduce these foods, the bacteria that depend on them begin to diminish in number. This creates ecological niches in your gut that beneficial bacteria can move into and claim as their own. The process of microbial transformation requires patience and consistency. While changes begin quickly, the deeper shifts that lead to lasting health benefits develop over weeks and months. Your bacterial garden needs time to fully establish new communities, create stable chemical communication networks, and develop the kind of resilient ecosystem that can maintain itself through daily fluctuations. This is why sudden, dramatic dietary changes can sometimes feel challenging. Your established bacterial populations aren't prepared for rapid shifts in their food supply. They may produce chemical signals that make you crave the foods they're accustomed to processing. They might temporarily struggle to efficiently handle new types of nutrients, leading to digestive changes as your system adapts. Gentle, gradual transformation tends to be more sustainable and comfortable. Like a garden that's slowly transitioning from one season to another, your microbial community can adapt more smoothly when changes are introduced thoughtfully and consistently. Each small dietary shift creates space for beneficial bacteria to grow while allowing less helpful populations to gradually diminish. The beautiful thing about microbial transformation is that it's never too late to begin. Whether you're 20 or 80, your bacterial garden retains its capacity for positive change. Dormant bacterial populations can be reawakened. Beneficial microbes can be encouraged to flourish. The chemical conversations between your bacteria and your genes can be gently shifted toward patterns that support greater health and vitality. Your body wants to heal and thrive. Your bacterial residents are eager to support this process. The foods you choose provide the raw materials for transformation, but the wisdom for change already exists within your microbial community. You're not forcing your gut to become something foreign, you're simply creating conditions that allow its healthiest potential to emerge. As you prepare for sleep tonight, your bacterial garden continues its quiet work of adaptation and renewal. The foods you ate today have already begun influencing which microbial populations will grow stronger and which will step back. The choices you'll make tomorrow will add new verses to this ongoing song of transformation. Change happens slowly in your internal garden, but it happens surely and steadily, one meal at a time, one day at a time, guided by the ancient wisdom of bacterial communities that know exactly how to support your journey toward greater health and deeper vitality. But this transformation you're nurturing within yourself is not a solitary journey, for your bacterial garden exists as part of something larger, a gentle revolution in understanding that's quietly reshaping how we think about health, healing, and the magnificent partnership between human and microbial life. In the soft silence of this moment, as your breathing deepens and your body settles into rest, you are part of something extraordinary. A quiet revolution is unfolding, not in the streets or in laboratories, but in the gentle spaces within your own body. This revolution speaks not in loud proclamations but in whispered chemical conversations between ancient bacterial partners and the newest frontiers of genetic understanding. For generations, humans believed that our genes were fixed blueprints, unchangeable instruction manuals that determined our biological destiny. We thought that the bacteria living in our bodies were mostly irrelevant passengers, tiny hitchhikers with little influence on our health or well-being. But science has revealed a more beautiful and hopeful truth. You are not a single organism walking through the world alone. You are a collaborative ecosystem, a walking partnership between human cells and trillions of microbial allies. Every breath you take, every meal you eat, Every choice you make sends ripples through this internal community, creating possibilities for healing and transformation that your grandparents could never have imagined. This understanding represents a fundamental shift in how we think about health and disease. Instead of seeing illness as something that happens to us, we're learning to recognize it as something that often emerges from imbalances in our internal ecosystem. Instead of treating symptoms in isolation, we're discovering how to support the underlying partnerships that maintain our well-being. The gentle revolution begins with recognizing that your bacteria are not foreign invaders but ancient allies. They have been evolving alongside humans for millions of years, learning to support our biology in ways so sophisticated that we're only beginning to understand their full contributions. They help digest our food, train our immune systems, produce essential vitamins, and communicate with our genes in languages older than civilization. This partnership challenges the old model of medicine that focused on fighting and destroying. The bacterial allies in your gut don't need to be conquered or controlled. They need to be nurtured, supported, and given the resources they require to maintain the delicate balance that keeps your entire ecosystem healthy. Your role in this partnership is both simple and profound. Every meal becomes an opportunity to send supportive messages to your microbial community. Every glass of water helps maintain the environment they need to thrive. Every choice to prioritize sleep, manage stress, and move your body gently creates conditions that allow the partnership to flourish. The revolution is gentle because it works with your body's existing wisdom rather than against it. You don't need to force dramatic changes or follow extreme protocols. The bacterial communities that support your health are already present in your gut, waiting patiently for the conditions that will allow them to expand their beneficial influence. Small changes create profound effects over time. Adding more diverse vegetables to your meals feeds bacterial species that produce anti-inflammatory compounds. Including fermented foods in your diet introduces new microbial allies while supporting existing beneficial populations. Reducing processed foods creates space for healthier bacterial communities to claim territory in your internal landscape. The beauty of this approach lies in its accessibility. You don't need expensive supplements or complex interventions to participate in this revolution. The most powerful tools are often the simplest ones: choosing whole foods over processed alternatives, eating slowly and mindfully, staying hydrated, getting adequate sleep, and managing stress in healthy ways. This gentle revolution is also deeply personal. Your microbial fingerprint is as unique as your DNA, shaped by your genetics, your birth experience, your childhood environment, and every dietary choice you've made throughout your life. There is no single perfect diet or universal protocol that works for everyone, because every person's internal ecosystem has its own needs and preferences. The revolution invites you to become curious about your own body's responses. Which foods leave you feeling energized and peaceful? Which combinations create digestive comfort? How do different eating patterns affect your mood, your sleep, your overall sense of well-being? Your bacterial partners are constantly sending you feedback through these physical and emotional signals. This new understanding also transforms how we think about genetic destiny. Your genes are not rigid controllers but responsive listeners, constantly adjusting their activity based on the chemical messages they receive from your bacterial allies. The foods you choose can influence which genetic programs are activated and which remain dormant, giving you a degree of influence over your biological expression that previous generations never realized they possessed. The revolutionary implications extend far beyond individual health. As more people understand the importance of their microbial partnerships, entire communities begin to shift toward supporting these internal ecosystems. Gardens flourish as people seek diverse, fresh vegetables. Traditional fermentation practices are rediscovered and celebrated. The wisdom of ancestral diets is honored while being adapted to modern life. Schools begin teaching children about their bacterial allies. Restaurants consider the microbial impact of their ingredients. Healthcare providers learn to support the underlying ecosystems that maintain health rather than simply treating symptoms after they appear. The gentle revolution spreads through countless individual choices that collectively transform how human communities approach nourishment and well-being. Yet the revolution remains fundamentally quiet and personal. It happens in the privacy of your kitchen as you choose foods that support your bacterial partners. It unfolds in the intimate spaces of your digestive system as beneficial microbes flourish in response to your care. It expresses itself in the subtle improvements in energy, mood, and vitality that emerge when your internal ecosystem finds better balance. The timeline of this revolution matches the patient rhythms of biological change. Bacterial populations can shift within days, but the deeper adaptations that lead to lasting transformation develop over weeks and months. Genetic expression patterns adjust gradually as your microbial allies send consistent chemical messages over time. The full flowering of this partnership may unfold over seasons and years of mindful choices. This gentle pace is part of the revolution's wisdom. Dramatic changes often create instability in complex systems. But gradual, consistent shifts allow your internal ecosystem to adapt smoothly, building resilience and sustainability into the transformation process. Your body has evolved to respond best to steady, patient care rather than sudden dramatic interventions. As you lie here in the peaceful darkness, you are both witness to and participant in this ongoing revolution. The bacterial communities in your gut are continuing their ancient work, processing the nutrients from your last meal, producing beneficial compounds, and sending gentle chemical messages to your genes. They are tending to the magnificent ecosystem that is uniquely you. The choices you make tomorrow will add new chapters to this quiet story of partnership and transformation. Each mindful meal will strengthen the beneficial alliances within your body. Each moment of rest will support the delicate chemical conversations that maintain your health. Each day will offer fresh opportunities to nurture the remarkable collaboration between your human cells and your microbial allies. And in the gentle accumulation of these daily choices, in the patient cultivation of this internal partnership, you participate in a revolution that is transforming not only your own health but our entire understanding of what it means to be beautifully, collaboratively, magnificently human.